Who was A.C. Townley, after all? The NPL. But he was kind of a charlatan. More than kind of a charlatan. So the basic facts are, born on December 30th, 1880, in Bronze Valley, Minnesota. Bronze Valley, you will all know, of course, is that tiny little town in the piece of Minnesota that sticks into extreme northeastern South Dakota. He was a dreamer, a talker, and in the end, something of a charlatan. So he began his adult life as a flax farmer in what became Golden Valley County, North Dakota. All of you, of course, know where that is. It's the last county on the interstate before you get into Montana. He planted 7,000 acres to flax. Not a good idea in western North Dakota. It snowed on the 15th of August and froze his entire crop. So he did what any one of us would do. He joined the Socialist Party. We'd all do that, wouldn't we? He was a dreamer in a sense, but he never got very far with his dreams. He was recruited by the Socialist Party, which amounted to something in North Dakota, got 1,100 or 1,200 votes in every election. And he became, he saw that the Socialist Party that he had joined was never going to be a ruling party in North Dakota, or potentially, pretty likely, anywhere else in the United States. So he dreamt up the Nonpartisan League. As far as we know, the name Nonpartisan League came out of Townley's brain. He was a gifted speaker. My dad, I grew up in western North Dakota, Montreal County, between Minot and Williston. My dad had a vivid memory of A.C. Townley coming to Wabec. Anybody know where Wabec is? No. Nobody knows where Wabec is because it doesn't exist anymore. I was last there probably 15, 20 years ago, and had a beer on the day they closed the bar. That's the end of Wabec. Townley came in an airplane So it was a real gimmick. Here is this person who had no real connection with that part of the state, but came there in that sort of stupendous, unexpected way, and then regaled the crowd for an hour or so, collected $6 apiece, $6 suckers, and went on his way. He got in trouble, though. The League actually won the elections in 1916 for the House of Representatives. Fell short in the state Senate. 1918, both houses of the legislature had majorities of members from the NPL. So Townley was sort of the tongue of the Nonpartisan League. It's not clear that he was the dreamer who came up with the Bank of North Dakota, the North Dakota Mill and Elevator, and various other enterprises that the League undertook. Those two being the ones that endured. Townley was arrested in 1919 after the League had taken control in North Dakota. He was charged with sedition because he encouraged young men not to enlist in the armed forces, and so that trial led to a 90-day sentence in the county jail in Alexandria, Minnesota. When he was released, he served the whole term. When he was released, he was kind of, not entirely, but kind of persona non grata with the League. The League had won the 1918 elections with a full majority in both houses of the legislature, the governor, and other associated offices, and so it was an extremely successful political movement for a couple of years. Townley engaged, shall we say, in a variety of undertakings. The one that is most remembered was an oil well. In the mid-1920s. Get your head around the map of North Dakota now. At Robinson. Where's Robinson? 150 miles east of the oil well, of the oil patch. The legend about this is, and I wasn't there, of course. Robinson is, I should locate it. It's essentially north and west a little bit, maybe quite a little bit, of Jamestown. East of the Missouri River by 60, 70 miles. To my knowledge, there are no producing oil wells east of the Missouri. Now, north of the Missouri is a different question. You know, the northwest corner of the state is where oil was discovered. Finally, about 30 years after A.C. Townley's undertaking, he was there in the 1951 when oil was discovered near Tioga. By that time, of course, Townley was an old man and didn't manage to get into the oil rush. In fact, toward the end of his life, he became a real crank. He had drifted over the years from the Socialist Party to what would an anti-communist who saw communists everywhere. Although, of course, you know, there might have been a dozen or so in North Dakota, but there certainly wasn't a large contingent. But Townley imagined that there were important communists to go after. One of them was named William Langer, and the others were members of something called the North Dakota Farmers Union. So Townley embarrassed himself in the 1950s with a whole bunch of odd kinds of enterprises. Oil, for one. He was a faith healer. He advertised his left hand as a healing tool. And he lived for some time in New Effington, South Dakota. You know where that is? Well, maybe 20 miles across the Minnesota border, in extreme northeastern South Dakota. South of, let me think here, 20 miles or so into North Dakota. Up over that rise, when you're driving south on the interstate, you look over and there's this rise. New Effington is just over the rise. So he had become a faith healer. Whether or not he was successful in healing people, I can't say. I wasn't there. He continued his political life. He ran for Congress in Minnesota. and didn't get anywhere. Although he did gain a double figure in votes in what at that time was the 7th district of Minnesota. Though, Minnesota had more congressional districts then than it does now. So he had been going. We're going back to 1920 now. He had been 90 days in jail. When he was released, he ran for office. Didn't do all that well. Pursued this oil dream of his. Developed a kind of political philosophy that he promulgated. Promulgated, that's not the right word. Preached. Became a traveling salesman. During much of the 1940s. I'm sorry?
Was he married all of this time?
Oh, was he married all of this time? Yes. His wife, he married in the very early years of the 20th century, and he and his wife, who's I'm embarrassed. I could dig through my notes and find it. I don't immediately recall her name. Had a daughter, so he had a family. But his focus through the 40s, the war years, was he had a life insurance scam that he used. He had various products that he distributed, and then in the 50s he became a rabid anti-communist. And as I said earlier, he was pretty sure that Bill Langer was a communist. He wasn't the only one who thought that, of course. But what really got him into trouble was his attack on the Farmers Union, which in the 1950s, North Dakota probably counted as members virtually every farmer west of the Red River Valley. It was the Farmers Union was two different things. It was a political organization representing farmers, and it was a business selling gasoline and and still is an important economic influence in every community in the state. In 1956, he ran for the U.S. Senate. In 1958, he ran for the U.S. Senate. That's the year that Bill Langer was on the ballot. This is sort of the beginning of my political consciousness. I'm 11 years old in 1958. I remember Dad sitting at the radio listening to A.C. Townley excoriating about Bill Langer and his communist views and how important it was to elect somebody else. Those of you who are my age will remember that in the 1958 Senate campaign, the incumbent did not appear in the state. Langer was terminally ill during the election, didn't show up in the state at all, and died on the 8th of November, 1959. So this is about a year after the election and Townley's attack on him. Townley died on the 7th of November, 1959, in a car accident on that incredibly long and lonely road that leads from US Highway 83 to Watford City in western North Dakota. He ran into a tractor, basically, and was killed. So that was the end of A.C. Townley. What in all of this attracts us to Townley after all of these years? He is seen, I think, in North Dakota history as two or three separate things. One is an extraordinarily successful political operative. He signed up tens of thousands of North Dakota farmers in the League. He worked very hard at rallying the troops, so to speak. He was a gifted speaker, and then he just sort of went off over here. So that leaves us, doesn't it, with the question of why is he important? And I think the answer that we need to accept, it's a kind of a two-part answer. One is he was an extraordinarily successful political organizer. You know, he built the Nonpartisan League virtually overnight, and stunned the state by winning the 1916 elections, gaining a majority in the House of Representatives, and then, of course, taking complete control in 1918. All of the ballot politicians were associated with the League by 1918 and had taken complete control. Bill Langer was Attorney General, got into a big squabble with the League and left, bringing William Lemke to the Attorney General's office. The Chester Fritz Library here, the archives contain thousands, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of notes from Lemke. Well, they go two ways. They're basically people joining the League and Lemke acknowledging them and encouraging them. Lemke is in Lemke was elected to the House of Representatives, the U.S. House. I'm blanking on the exact year, but he served for a good long time. He was also a kind of a rogue and he ran for president in 1936 with the endorsement, maybe blessing is the better word, of a bishop named Coughlin. He wasn't elected, of course. He was re-elected to the House and served in the U.S. House until he died in 1951 by falling down and hitting his head on the sidewalk outside the Powers Hotel on Broadway in Fargo. Into my lifetime, the Fargo, the Powers Hotel. See, I worked at the Forum in 1972. The Powers Hotel was still there. In fact, the Powers Hotel is still there, but it's not a hotel anymore. Townley outlived him, but he didn't outlive Langer. In the 1958 campaign, there was a Democrat running, but the Democrats were of no importance practically in North Dakota politics in 1958. Townley got on the radio and excoriated Langer, creating this huge feud, and the irony of all of this is that they died within 24 hours of each other. Lemke is important to me because he dreamt up, essentially, the League businesses, the Bank of North Dakota, the mill and elevator, a hail insurance program, and a number of things. The mill and the bank are the surviving League institutions, and both of them have been extraordinarily successful. It took a while, and there was plenty of skullduggery going on. Townley had a big brain. He saw things happening that he thought he could do something about. He got involved in a scheme promoting sugar, and he got involved in these oil schemes, the Robinson scheme, in the 1920s. I neglected to point out no, I did point out that Robinson is well outside of what we know as the oil producing area in North Dakota. So the League's lasting imprint in North Dakota is the bank. The Bank of North Dakota is hugely successful. I think that leaving aside the state ownership, the socialism involved in the Bank of North Dakota, the bank is extraordinarily successful in all of the things that banks do. But most importantly, it has all the state's money. And that was the thing that Lemke and Townley were most interested in, the Bank of North Dakota. The second thing they were most interested in, probably, was the North Dakota Mill and Elevator, which is just up the tracks a little bit from here. So the whole story of Townley, particularly, well, uniquely, is this enterprising young guy just destroyed essentially his farming operation at Beach, essentially completely failed, leaving him in considerable debt. He goes over to the Socialist Party and becomes an organizer, a very successful one. He runs for office. He goes to jail. He runs for office. He becomes a kind of charlatan salesperson selling weird stuff, and a faith healer. I looked and looked and looked to see if I could find any stories about Townley as a faith healer, and he had somehow drifted into this sect at New Effington, and was performing healing for a number of years. There's almost, I have not been able to find more than that about his doctoring, so to speak. And then, of course, the last years of Townley's life were spent mostly as a peddler, selling everything from cold cream to insurance policies. So why should we remember him? We have to remember him because he organized the League and made it a success, and the League created the bank and the mill and elevator. The bank being an especially important and profitable institution. It's the only state-owned bank in the country. The only state bank in the country. And of course, as the depository for the state's funds, it's not really ever been in any kind of trouble. Bank failures were sort of the afternoon activity in North Dakota for a number of years in the 20s and 30s. In the early 20s, the number of banks in the state was cut by some figure more than half. But these were tiny little banks in all these small towns everywhere. So the Bank of North Dakota became a very important for the deposits of the state, and also for lending power that these other small banks didn't have. Townley gets credit in my mind for not uniquely for imagining the bank. That's more of Bill Lemke's work than it is Townley's work. But Townley created the political situation that made it possible for North Dakota to undertake this unique and, over the years, highly successful publicly owned bank. So I hold up Townley as an important factor in the state's long-term success. Of course, the bank, during the 1930s, Langer used the bank basically to keep farmers on the land, because privately owned banks were foreclosing all over the state, and so the Bank of North Dakota was a kind of a foundation that you could build a rescue for a lot of farmers. And then, of course, the extraordinary impact that the bank has in North Dakota. I'm betting, looking at the group here, that some of you or some of your relatives, some of your children went to college on Bank of North Dakota. I did, and it has, over the years, been a very important institution in the state. Not Townley's idea, but Townley's accomplishment, because of his genius as a political organizer in a particular piece of time. When you look back at 1920, you have to remember the First World War, which had a huge impact on young men, particularly draftees, but also on economic notions. And the teens in the United States, and particularly in North Dakota, were much more, lack of a better term, leftist leaning than they had been, than they became, largely because the war took away that fervor that left-wing organizers were bringing to the countryside. At one point, the league had chapters, for lack of a better term, in Minnesota, North and South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Idaho, Nebraska, I think 8 or 10 or 11 states where they were important political organizations. That movement got cut off by the war and the economic issues that arose in the early 20s. So this is a guy who had failed as a farmer, had extraordinary success as a political organizer, and then became essentially a crank, kind of an interesting crank, but still a crank. So that's my story about A.C. Townley, Arthur Charles Townley. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Where did he get his wealth from at the beginning?
I'm sorry?
Where did he get his wealth from in the very beginning?
My hearing is going to hell.
Finances. Where did he get his finances?
Where did he get his finances?
He had all that land. Did he inherit it?
Well, yes, the land in Golden Valley, this won't surprise you, was not particularly sought after because it was, the infrastructure wasn't there at that point. The railroad was there, but that's about all. And it's dry, significantly drier than the Red River Valley. Today, Golden Valley County is largely a ranching population. Grass grows where grain doesn't.
You said they have 7,000 acres.
Yeah.
So did he buy, did he own that land?
I don't know quite how this mechanism worked, but he didn't really own any land.
So he talked himself.
Yeah, and that's right. The only money you need to do this is to buy the seed, and then of course you expect that you're going to have a great crop and so it's all going to be good. And then on the 15th of August, you get a foot of snow. It's a freak storm.
Snow was a problem then, but wouldn't it have been a problem in the summer not having enough rain in that part of Dakota?
Well, Townley was not. In thinking about him, he wasn't real smart about buying land or creating facilities. I mean, he screwed up the oil deal, he screwed up the wax deal, and so on and so forth. He wasn't a farmer. He didn't,
But ended up growing up on a farm, wouldn't you agree? Not much rain out there for flax?
Well,
Did your dad grow flax?
yeah, we grew flax. Flax is a beautiful crop. I mean, all of the flowers. They're still growing flax in Montrose County. Probably the average annual rainfall at Stanley, where I grew up, is 16 inches. At Beach in Golden Valley County, it's probably, yeah, around 10, probably in the middle figures. It varies from year to year. We we prayed every day in the summertime for rain, you know. And then in mid-August, you quit praying for rain because you wanted to get out and do the harvest.
How about the bank? Is it, the Bismarck still have a lot to do with the bank?
When you say Bismarck, do you mean the city of Bismarck, or do you mean the political? Yeah. Yes, the bank, the board of directors of the bank, three people: the governor, the attorney general, and the commissioner of agriculture. That's the board of the bank. The reason the bank is successful today and wasn't so successful immediately after its founding was that they didn't hire particularly good bankers in the early days, whereas now it is operated as a commercial bank. The difference being that the deposits, you know, belong to the state, and there are private accounts. I had an account at the Bank of North Dakota for when Suzette and I lived in Bismarck, but it's not what you think of as a local bank. It's and it gets all of its deposits essentially from the state government. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I'm curious about, you said he flew in to a small community.
I'm going to come back here because the only person I can hear on Sunday mornings is the pastor.
You said he flew in
Yes.
to speak. Like, was that novel?
Oh, yes.
He would fly in,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
and was that part of his,
People came to see the airplane as much as they came to see Townley. There couldn't have been very many private airplanes in North Dakota in 1920. Very few, I would think. And so that was actually, it's a stroke of genius when you think about it, because people came to the airplane and then they listened to Townley. And then they gave him $6 for membership in the NPL. $6 suckers, they were called. He was 5 feet 10. He wasn't, you know, but if you, I've done this in some of the, if you look in newspapers of the day, he is often portrayed as a giant, but in fact he was, you know, a small frame and not a particularly tall person. But he had a hell of a voice. And he took $6 out of a lot of pockets.
what was his ancestry?
You know, I don't know. Townley sounds to me like a British name. But I don't know. His parents were early arrivals in extreme western Minnesota, but I don't know where they came from.
And I'm
Mhm.
wondering, I've run into quite a few people throughout North Dakota in my 80 years who are really opposed to it. Is Farmers Union a nonprofit?
Well, fine, it's a cooperative. Um,
So they try to make ends meet plus a little?
Well, the Farmers Union is in North Dakota is a very successful operation.
Nonprofits are too.
It pays dividends to its members just the way that a corporation would. The difference is that most corporations are held by either a huge number of stockholders or somebody like John D. Rockefeller. So the difference here is that the Farmers Union pays dividends to individual members just the way that the corporation does, but it doesn't keep a whole lot of money for an individual who is,
There are no billionaires and millionaires on top. I mean, good salaries perhaps, but
well, there are plenty of millionaires in North Dakota.
I'm talking farmers.
More, probably more millionaires in North Dakota as a percentage of the population as most other states.
Look that up and you're right.
Yeah, it didn't start out that way, but you can, there are more. I will state definitively, the North Dakota legislature has more millionaires as members than, I'll just hedge my bets, most other states. But all the other states wouldn't be surprising because of the development of agriculture in North Dakota has resulted in very large patches of farms. I'm always stunned in visiting with legislators who are farmers, because they think about numbers differently than those of us who are paid for jobs. I could have looked this up. I hadn't anticipated the question. I could have looked this up and counted the millionaires in the North Dakota legislature, but my guess is outside of the city districts, you're looking at pretty much people who of wealth. And it has taken North Dakota 140 years to get here, but we're pretty prosperous at the moment. Anybody else? Yes? Aren't you a reporter? Yeah, I do. I remember that.
I was wondering about the merger of Democratic Party with the NPL.
Ah,
Can you talk about that a little bit? How that
yes. The question is about the relationship between the NPL and the Democratic Party. I've forgotten what they called themselves. Anyway, the sort of left-leaners in the league were uncomfortable with the economic policies of the Republican Party, and a guy named Lloyd Amdahl imagined and initiated the move from the NPL had always nominated its candidates in the Republican Party because, everybody in the state was a Republican. You know, in 1956, the League voted to join the Democrats, to endorse its candidates in the Democratic Party. That's the beginning of a two-party government in North Dakota. It's kind of eased over this way more and more because agriculture has become so much more profitable. I should say remunerative. You know, money is coming in. But you know, into the 1960s, farms were still. You know, the problem we have talking about agriculture is that virtually every farm in North Dakota is owned by a person, one person. You know, maybe a family, whatever. But that operation is no longer the sort of economic unit that the 160-acre farm, the homestead, was. I think there's a lot of we don't have the right vocabulary to talk about farming in North Dakota because it's not what most people think about farming is you go out and get in a tractor and work. Now, let's just think about the last few governors. Kelly Armstrong, of course, is an oil man. His family's wealth comes from oil. Doug Burgum is the descendant of a family who were perceptive enough in the 1880s to get into the grain trading business. And the Burgums were farmers, but first and foremost, they were grain traders. Dalrymple's, huge, you know, one of the largest of the bonanza farms. Governor Hoban's family were bankers. So my point is that the basis of the agricultural economy now rests with 20,000 farmers, 25, I don't know exactly the number, while in 1916, when the League was active, there were probably 150, 200,000 homesteads, 160 acres, very little capital behind them. So, agriculture, as we sort of think of it, I think we think of agriculture as a good thing, not as a business, which we think of as a bad thing. Agriculture is a business, and it has become much more concentrated than it was even in the 1950s. Any others? So, in conclusion, my own take on Townley is we need to respect him and understand him, because he is one of the people who created the uniqueness of North Dakota's political system. And then the other part is that he's our crazy uncle, who's involved in all of these strange undertakings that most of us, some of us, all of you probably, have not gotten involved in oil wells that you're digging with a spade. I don't believe many of the stories about Townley's oil demonstrations, but somehow or another he was able to convince people that there was oil at Robinson, and they should invest in his oil well. I think that undertaking on Townley's part was the start of his sort of drift away from economic reality. The Bank of North Dakota made sense, the mill and elevator made sense, but developing oil at Robinson didn't make any sense, and so he became a crank. He had been a really conscientious, creative political organizer, and he created pretty much single-handedly, with Lemke's help. Lemke was a very sharp lawyer, and so Lemke sort of did the law part while Townley was out selling the idea. Anything else? The guy is really interesting. I hope that you felt some sympathy for him.